Hello friends and welcome to Inside Success. In this episode I jetted out to Ibiza and managed to spend some time with the legend that is Danny Gould, who for over 30 years has been running Clockwork Orange club events. In this episode we discuss with Danny the highs and lows of 30 years of working in such a difficult industry and the evolution of the actual clubbing scene itself. The interesting part for me was very much looking at Danny as an individual and the elements of the actual PR and the marketing and what actually goes into putting on such events as Clockstock, which saw just over 12,500 people attend recently at Chelmsford Racecourse, and then the massive celebrations from the 20th of July for a full weekend back in Ibiza, the spiritual home of Clockwork Orange. I hope you enjoy the episode as much as I enjoyed recording with Danny. So just a little bit about how I know Danny. So I actually came to your events very late in life, and the first one I actually attended was, I had to Google this morning because I couldn't keep up with the hours and the times, was the O2 event back in 2017.
Wow. Building 6, wasn't it?
That was it, yeah, down the sides, with the outside part and then the main building. And I was really trying to reconnect with an old friend, Trevor Fung, who was obviously playing the event. I fell in love with the Clockwork Orange, the whole event. Just the people, the setup, the atmosphere, the age groups. And that's really why I wanted to talk to yourself today, was because what I find about Clockwork Orange is it's not just an event, it's a community. And the people of the events are very much part of what you do. The clockies, as we call them. And since I've been coming out to your events, 2018 was the first time we came to Ibiza, so literally a year after. And we've been coming ever since.
Wow,
which is quite good.
Was a good year. 18 was the last beach party, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. That was an event.
Yeah.
It was an event.
We had to stop it because it was too big.
And too noisy as well from the locals' point of view.
No, it was nothing to do with locals. It was just too big.
Okay.
It had grown from 400 or 300 people to like 8,000.
Okay.
With no flyers, no advertising, just you know where it is, blah blah blah.
Word of mouth.
That was it.
That was it.
Days, yeah. And the man said to me, he said, we can't do it anymore. We went, it's too big. And then we went to Amnesia.
Okay. So, before we get going on anything else, I always like to start with just a few get-to-know-you questions. Random stuff, which you might not have thought about for a long time. So, first one, what was
Give the long pause then with
No.
my old brain.
Don't worry about it. So, what was your favourite TV show as a kid?
I think I grew up on Harold Lloyd's and Laurel and Hardy's.
Okay.
That kind of stuff. That kind of mad kind of people jumping off of buildings, the slapstick. That's the stuff I used to look forward to, because I remember when I was a kid, you'd have your Saturday morning cartoons and your Hong Kong Fuies, and they were all exciting because you had no TV really, did you?
No.
It was in a certain time in the afternoon. But I used to like that bit. I must have been about 9 or 10 or 8. And then BBC One would finish and go into the adult section. But then Harold Lloyd and Laurel and Hardy would come on BBC Two. So you switched over and watched it on there. And they were the things that made me laugh. I remember being unwell and felt unwell, and then Harold Lloyd was on once, and the things that was going on, and it made me laugh. I've got a distinct memory of that, being unwell and watching it. Because you remember when you was kids, you'd get the flu.
Yeah.
And you'd be ill, and you'd have all those mad dreams. I was unwell at that point. I remember watching it, but it lifted my emotions. That kind of stuff, really.
So it was the stuff that made you laugh, that made you feel happy.
Yeah, and then you got like things like Chips and the A-Team and all those wicked things that were made for kids in that era. So it didn't necessarily have to be like funny stuff, just stuff that you just connected with, really.
Okay. Fantasy dinner guest, and why?
Winston Churchill, because he's on my chest.
Yeah,
he's my hero. He's my hero. Basically, even sitting here today probably wouldn't exist if that man wouldn't have stood up for what he believed in, what he knew, and the man that we needed at that time in the history of the British Empire at that time. If he wouldn't have done what he would have done, and Britain, the British government, capitulating via the Italians to the Germans and surrendering, none of this would exist today.
No.
The Germans would have spread to Britain foothold in Britain, all of Europe, all of France, everything conquered. Maybe the Americans and the Russians together, but you never know. You never know. And then when the amount of books I've read of his, and it's just like a Hollywood story. The man was a genius.
Is there one question you'd like to ask him?
Oh, one question. That's a bloody good answer. I think I'd have. I think I'd just listen to him. To be honest,
Okay.
I'd just listen to him.
That's a good enough answer. Random one. Would you rather be forced to sing along or dance to every single song you heard?
Dance to every single song I heard, but I don't really dance anymore because my legs get stiff and my back goes. Even like when you're shuffling left and right when you're DJing, and next morning you wake up and everything's stiff. So yeah, dance. I don't mind a sing along. Yeah, I don't mind a sing along. As you get older, you realise, when you're younger, and I got the words wrong, and it don't sound right, and it really doesn't matter. Sing like nobody's listening and dance like nobody's watching.
And don't worry about that. So my kids criticise me all the time. We sit in the car.
It don't care. Don't matter.
I'm trying to do 90s rap in the car, and the kids are going, "You've got no idea on the words."
My daughter was singing to what's the lady? Oh, I can't remember her name, but she had this album on, and she was singing in her bedroom, top of her voice. Left her to it. This most cathartic, relaxing thing you can do. Gets out all your stresses and strains. Yeah, sometimes I'm in the car and I'll scream loud and shout loud and sing loud, and you feel better afterwards.
Any particular song?
Nah, all of them.
I seem to think that I know every word to Toto Africa, but I don't. But it sounds really good.
Right. Ahmad, you just said that. 2 weeks ago on Instagram, you get these little stories 30 seconds long or a minute long. So the man describes the greatest producers of the late 70s and early 80s.
Yeah.
Were these guys. There were two brothers and someone else. The two brothers and someone else, which I've looked into and I actually can't find anyway. And they helped to produce certain songs on Thriller, like big groups at the time, massive groups. They then went on to form Toto Africa.
Wow.
Yeah, then one's from that. And I was
So
watching
from
it,
the kind of synth period and going through those.
like they were involved with like McCartney and Michael Jackson. He said, but you never would have heard of them. He said, but you would have heard of their group, Toto Africa.
One of my favourite songs.
Yeah.
Favourite songs. Do you have a guilty pleasure song talking about music?
No, there's loads of them. Elton John, your song.
That's a good one, yeah.
Yeah, like listening, like knowing all the words,
So
and
like
Paul McCartney as Paul Young.
Paul Young?
Wherever I lay my hat. That's a wicked track because that takes me back to being 11 years old with the 12 and 13-year-olds at a party when I was a kid and I wasn't drinking. And watching them all smoking and drinking and dancing with each other, and I was sitting there and I was like naive to it all. And I can remember that record being played. So it was like, that was in 82, I think, that song.
So I was 1 year old then?
Yeah, and this was 83 or 84.
Okay.
You was 1 year old?
I was 1 year old in 81. Yeah. Well, okay. So that takes you right back to that. That's interesting.
There's a lot of records that take me back to that specific moment in time. Yeah,
So that takes you to 11. Okay. So if a movie was made about yourself, who would play you and why?
It couldn't be Danny Dyer. He's too like that. He's too like that. It's embarrassing. It's almost like amplified cockneyness.
Someone out the left side the other day when I did one of these said Denzel Washington.
Mate, listen, Denzel Washington is probably one of the coolest, wisest cats going. All of his movies. I want to see the new Equalizer.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure if it's going to go like John Wick.
Yes.
The latest John Wick was just pathetic. And Keanu Reeves is a governor. He's a governor. To have done it and watch them all like fighting like this is just pathetic.
It's trying to be the Matrix still.
No, and even the
Even
Matrix
worse.
4 was just embarrassing, or whatever number it was. I just watched it. I turned it off after a little while. I went, you've just killed it. Why would you do that? If you can't make it better, then why not? But someone to play you in a movie would have to be someone unknown. So you discover someone, that person who fits that position perfectly, where they look the same,
Yeah.
characteristics, and you just know. Do you know what I mean? Not having to pick someone from top shelf, you pick an unknown that just does it perfectly.
That's a good answer.
Yeah.
And do you have a favourite quote?
This is not the end. This is not even the beginning of the end. But it is perhaps the end of the beginning.
Churchill?
Churchill, mate, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's the end of that round. How do you feel about that? It's quite good.
Yeah, it was right. It was
Oh,
cool.
no, yeah. So, can you give us a brief introduction?
You're taking away my sunshine.
I'm sorry, Danny.
You didn't actually do it personally, but it's disappeared for a couple of minutes.
But that's fine, so it means you don't have to worry about the sunshine.
It's good. Counterproductive, I like it. Or counteractive, yeah.
So, can you give us a brief introduction and a background of what you had done in previous jobs before Clockwork?
I know I'm all off by heart. I came out of school and my next door neighbour who lived at the back, she said that her boss needed someone on the markets, so I went to work on Petticoat Lane and Romford Market. I used to get Saturdays off. Yeah, Saturdays off. And we used to do a mixture between the both. That was selling shirts. And that's what got me like with confidence. What was the guy's name? Can't remember. It'll ping in my head in a minute. And he went to prison for fraud. And he said, "Go on, boy, sell the shirts." I went, "What?" He went, "Go on, shout." And I was always had the confidence. And he went, "Go on, 2 for like a £5 or 5 for a tenner or whatever." And I had to stand there and all people looking at me, but I did it. And then I left that. And then I went to work in a place called Champion and Wilton's in Giddens. So they made exclusive horse stuff like saddles, all stuff like that.
Okay.
And I mean, this is 88. And the saddles are made out of elephant skin.
Really?
Yeah, this is 88. So it was elephant just before it like really got banned. And in my book I wrote about it in there where I stole some post from another office, and there was acid in a newspaper from Australia, and I didn't know what it was, but the secretary knew what it was, and I ended up taking half, and then I took a full one on a Friday.
And what age is this?
16. In working in an office environment, like tripping Friday by about 10 o'clock in the morning, I was like gone, melting in the mirror. Then I went to work in a greengrocer's for a friend for about 6-7 months. Then a building site for 2 years, and then after that, I literally done my first summer in Ibiza in 1992. Come back. 92, yeah, come back, met Andy, and then we started Clockwork in 93.
So we'll go on to that in a second. So let's go back even further. 16-year-old Danny, obviously we just talked about the working point of view. So what age did you leave school?
16.
Was 16.
Without qualification or anything. I got thrown out, basically.
So I was going to ask, what were you like at school?
I was the naughtiest kid. Naughtiest kid. So if you want to go even further back than that, so an alcoholic mother, basically, you're not dragged up. You've got a mum who's got an illness. You're living in a flat with no carpet, second-hand clothes, hardly no food. When we did have food, it was like a luxury. And I'll digress onto something like this. I always looked at my nan as posh, but only in the last 6 to 12 months have I realised that my nan was normal.
Yeah.
Like lino, nice and clean, baking, growing things in the garden. My dad had a job. My granddad had a job. My nan had a job. They had soda streams and biscuits in the cupboard. I thought my nan was posh, but it's only just dawned on me she was normal. I had no father, and that was me growing up, really. So it was me growing up. So I had no direction. ADHD, most probably. Child psychologists at school, at high school, because I was disruptive, naughty, playing up, always on report. Nearly got suspended twice. Nearly got expelled, but they let me off. And I think my last final exam paper, they sent home to my mum, and how disgusted they were. Basically, what I did is I just drew pictures over it and then just walked out and left. And they sent it to my mum in the post, and she was like, "What's all this about?" I was like, and what I used to say when I was a kid, "So what? Who cares?" And that was it. Left school with no qualifications. And what they did do after that, they took all of our year to Alton Towers, and they made me stand outside the staff room all lunchtime while they decided. And then the teacher came out, Mrs. Riches, our head of year, and she said, she just shook her head. She went, "I'm sorry." She went, "No one is prepared to look after or monitor you during the trip." So I was the only child who wanted to let her go.
So how'd that make you feel?
At the time, you're pissed off. You're annoyed. But if you don't, Now, looking back on it, if you don't do what you're supposed to do, and you're the naughtiest kid, and you're disruptive, and you don't try in your exams, there is some form of punishment because you are a pain in the royal arse.
Yeah.
I went, miss, I'll sit up the front, please. Listen, it was all just words. Because as soon as I got there, I would have done whatever I could to have been like, outlandish. But our school back then was like crazy. Most of the kids were disruptive or fighting the teachers or breaking windows, setting off extinguishers. It's only when I spoke to a friend in New York a little while ago and he went, our school was rough, mate.
Yeah.
Punks, glue, smoking. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It was bloody good fun.
So where was growing up?
Growing up was a place called Chapel Heath. My mum, when I was born, it was a 1-bedroom bed sit in Ilford, in Essex, and then they offered her a 2-bedroom flat in Chapel Heath, in this street. And there was other kids not as low as where I was, but they were like near enough there. And but that was a lovely street of like families, kids, most of the parents all together kind of thing, do you know what I mean? Like the mums and dads and like the 2 kids or the 3 kids. There was only 2 of us in that street who, like, there was 1 of us. All the rest of them had brothers and sisters. And
you got a brother?
I've got a brother now, yeah. He was born and then we moved. We moved again in 1986 when he was born to Chigwell in Essex to be 1 road away from my nan because my mum got offered another council property. Got offered a house. But yeah, we grew up in Chapel Heath. And I went back 8 years ago, and that road is now basically, in no uncertain terms, a shithole. It was decrepit, dilapidated. Things were smashed, spray painting. It's just
soul destroying.
Yeah, it was sad because that's where I grew up, and the gardens were the gardens, and some of the back gardens had allotments, and the lovely garages, and all the windows had been smashed, and all the garages. And all the houses are just, and there was developments gone on in places where you wouldn't have, where we used to kick a ball.
Yeah.
And it was soul destroying. It was horrible.
Okay. Well, that's not ideal, is it?
No, but that's the movement from inner city to outer city, and the inclusion in the European Union.
Yeah.
And affordable properties, and what else is it? Social housing.
Yeah.
So it just, all the families moved out.
Yes.
And other people moved in, so it was sad to see.
So from my personal point of view, similar-ish story to yourself. I was an only child, never met my father, and I lived next door to my nan.
I met him once.
Okay, you met him once?
In 1988, yeah, met him once.
How old were you then?
16.
Don't mind going into it?
I don't mind going into anything, don't bother me. Turned up, my mum got a phone call. Mum got a phone call from my nan, and my nan lived in her house for 70 years. After the Second World War, 1946, they got offered this house. There's a photo of her and my granddad standing on the step, and behind them is just orchards.
Yeah.
And then gradually that became the housing estate. And she lived there for years, and when she met my dad, when he left when I was born, wherever he went, South Africa or New Zealand, and he came over on a cruise, and he went to see my nan and said blah, blah, blah. And she rang my mum up and said he wants to come round and see you. He come round, was talking to my mum, didn't really pay me no attention. So I went out, because I used to go ice skating on a Wednesday, and he came on a Wednesday. I went, fuck this shit. And I was out there. Rang me up at work, that place, that saddle place.
Yeah.
I said, I'm in London, do you want to meet for lunch? I met him for lunch. He gave me his number and his telephone number on a piece of paper, and I literally kept it in a cupboard for years, and before my mum passed away, I threw it away because I moved out of that property into somewhere else.
Yeah.
And then, I never kept it. Tried to track him down just to say hello and say he's got a granddaughter, but it don't bother me.
Well, the thing is now is, let's be fair, social media, you can be found very quickly.
I didn't even know what his second name was until I was about 30 odd, and I don't know if it's WINN or WYNN. Someone sent me a photo from the 60s of all the 6 boys in a nightclub. I couldn't have told you which one was mine, which one was my dad. When I looked at it, I didn't even know, couldn't remember what he looked like. Didn't even know him. But then when I show it to everyone else, they go, oh, that's the one because he looks like you. Really?
Couldn't pick it out.
Yeah, no, really. Yeah.
So I always found in life is, unless someone wants to get to know you, you shouldn't have to chase them. I've always been that way inclined.
It's like those long lost families when the people ain't seen each other for like 50 years and they start crying and go, because some of them, there's a part of them missing. I'm like, no, there's not a part of me missing, because if I saw him, it's awkward. You don't know that person. You've got no bond to him, you know what I mean?
Correct.
I didn't have a bond with him, and I've never needed him, and I've never really wanted to. Slightly, I thought I'd try and track him down, and someone gave me this number and something like that, but it never come to nothing, so I don't stay up all night thinking about it.
So, on a more positive note, you're a father?
Yep.
Daughter?
Yep, 12 years old,
12 years old.
A totally different child to what I was when I grew up.
And obviously the point of view is, so you said she's a completely different character to yourself. And is that partly from your personal experience in parenting, or from your...
It's her mum. Most of that is down to her mum. Mum, which she's amazing. She's an amazing mother, and how she's guided her. But then it's the environment. So I grew up my mum was always drinking. Like borrowing. I was sent up to shops to go and with a tick note to have a martini and 20 MC number one, and then bring it back. Sometimes when she's really drunk, I had to take her up there when I was 7 or 8 years old, supporting her up the road. As I said, no carpets, no curtains. Most of the time the gas didn't work because she didn't pay the bill. No electric, no food. So you adapt to your environment. So you go in someone's house and I used to nick their biscuits or steal food. Do you know what I mean? Because it wasn't something I was used to. And I made a mental decision, that when my daughter was born, I went, no, it's not about me. Because I was like, I'm going to chill out and not work so hard. And within 6 months, I was like, it's not about me, it's about my daughter. And I went from chilling out to 4 jobs, and Clockwork restarted, and a landscape company, and working 7 days a week so that I could bring her up how she should be brought up. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not just a loving environment, not just material stuff, but nice holidays, nice clothes, all the stuff that I used to look at other kids and they had this stuff, and I used to think, again, they were posh, and oh wow, they've got Sergio on and Fila on, not just the labels, look at me, but just the things that accompany kids growing up,
Just comfortable.
Yeah.
Rather than the flash side of things.
Yes.
Okay.
And she's not like that. She's not like that. I took her to Selfridges and said, I'll buy you this. She was like, meh. And then when I got to the front, it was these silk pyjamas, and the lady went, they're 500 quid. I thought, I'm going to treat her. And she just looked at me, she went, that's too much money. And she's 12. And I went, wow. Because when I was a kid, I wanted everything, because I weren't getting what everyone else was getting. So if I'd grasp it, do you know what I mean? But she was like, no, it's too expensive. And I was 12 years old, teaching me lessons. So, she's a great kid.
But I find that myself and my own kids, is that I've realised if you don't listen to them and what they're understanding from their own modern world, considering what we grew up in, I don't know everything still. I coach kids football now on a Sunday, and the stuff I'm learning from just being around them, their different personalities and their different hopes and dreams, I'm still learning at 42 on what I would...
42.
But we always... I don't dismiss, obviously, the younger kids and younger generation, but you kind of get to an age and you think you know everything. And then unless you open up your ears and listen to what they're telling you, you miss so much. And as you say, it's generally the simpler things in life they want from you. It's not, as you say, £500 silk pyjamas. They want quality time, they want someone to listen to, and actually give them the ability to actually believe they can do more in their life, regardless of their upbringing, their starting, and where they come from, if that makes sense. What was your dream job?
I didn't want money. I didn't have one. I just know I needed money. When I was at school, when I was 14, when we moved from one place to another, I got a job before school in the butchers.
Yeah.
I got a job after school in the butchers. That was 6 days, 6 days a week, all day Saturday, before school, after school. Then after the butchers, I used to go in the greengrocers and pull that in. Then on a Monday, Wednesday and Saturday, I used to work for £1 an hour in a local supermarket. And then on Sunday, I used to go out and clean cars and try and earn money and drag him around my nan's shopping basket with a hoover, buckets, chamois levers and fairy liquid, trying to earn money. And most I'd ever earn was about 35 quid a week. This was 1986. And that was just enough for whatever. And then that was when I was 14. Then other jobs and then whatevers. And only 2 years ago did I stop working 4 jobs and I had 2 full-time jobs. I was a construction manager, project manager in construction. And I was doing Clockwork and Clockstock and a landscaping company and DJing. So even those years later, and then 2 years ago, I went, that's it. I ain't doing this no more.
So for the construction market, obviously when I first got to see what you were doing and got to understand yourself a little bit more, I didn't have any clue or concept. You obviously were in that side of the industry.
20 years.
Okay.
Did it for 20 years and then finished. I went into that when Clockwork finished. When I left Clockwork in 2001, we was working 6 months on a project and earning no money, and I went, that's it. And I went to work for a friend as a fire taping man.
Yeah.
Putting the fire tape above the ceilings to form, like, you know, the air integrity or the...
for the fire ratings.
Yeah, the fire ratings at the top of the walls and blah, blah, blah. And I had it all over me, and he was paying me like 90 quid a day. And then one day some guy said, I need a making good man on the job. And I turned up on the next day with all these guys from his other sites, Polish, Lithuanian, Bulgarian, Romanian. In the induction, and the man went, you're English? And I went, yeah. He went, how old are you? And I was, how much was I then? I was 29. 29. And then when I got to know him and I told him all the stuff, and I was like, you know, so this was 2001, 2002. And then 1998, I'm the most successful promoter in Ibiza. Smashed the granny out of it, 3,500 a week. And then I've started on this site as a making good man. And in them days, the internet and everything, it'd only just taken off, so you couldn't Google it and go, look, check this out.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, all right. And then someone would go, I used to go to your parties. Right, cool. So I'm working on my hands and knees, scrubbing things. And I said to this guy, I'll do whatever you want. And I just basically was working there like 90 hours a week because they was giving me day work. And I got it all signed off, and the daily and then the weekly, got it all signed off. And the bloke said, I can't pay you that. I went, it's been signed off. And he went, do you want a job as a manager? And I went, yeah. And I went to literally work on this site, got the interview. And they went, we pay 30 grand a year. Really? This was 2001 or 2002. And I went, really? And he went, yeah. He said, medical as well. I went, what? He went, we pay your travel expenses as well. I went, what? He went, and you get the bank holidays, the weekends and Christmas and holidays off, plus 2 weeks paid. I went, what? Normality. Because when I left school and I had all these different jobs, it was like self-employed or no tax or this, that, the other. And I was like, wow, really? And I started as nothing and worked my way up to their top project manager, like learning all the stuff.
So sorry, that was 29, you say you started doing that?
No, 2002 when I started doing construction as a project manager, as working for a company.
So from the actual ground up, when did you start? What age was that? Coming back out off the back of Clockwork? Coming back to the UK?
I started as a making good man 2001 into 2002.
What age was that then?
I was 29.
29.
Yeah, 29.
So you've gone from massive highs to, as you say, coming back to starting from scratch again, basically. Didn't bother me. I appreciate that, but it's, for me, it's the point of this podcast as well is to actually give people some reality check around that, regardless of whatever you do in life, there is a start again. There is obviously opportunities regardless of age. Yeah,
start again whenever you want.
But it's then being able to put in that effort, hard work and commitment, as you just said there.
I was 29. I couldn't do it now.
No, but my point is even at 29, telling someone to work 90 hours a week, they'd have a mental breakdown. They wouldn't even
I was hungry. See, I'd gone from doing really well with Clockwork to like literally penniless.
Yeah.
Like penniless. Not a thing to my name. Bunking on the train, jumping off at certain stops because I knew I could run off. I had 50p in my pocket every day, and that used to buy me a jumbo box of cornflakes from whatever shitty shop. And then that would be my breakfast, lunch and dinner in the canteen, and I used to steal the milk. And the lady used to have a go at me every day. And then in the end, she just gave me the milk because that was my breakfast, lunch and dinner for however long until I got my first paycheck. And then I bought myself a coffee and a croissant in the morning because I was thinking, and then I went up from there. But yeah, 29.
At 29?
Yeah.
Hitting the top.
Loved it though. I loved it. I loved working, getting there at 6, 7 o'clock in the morning and working till 9, 10 o'clock at night in central London. Getting the train home, and I was so tired this is when I was still like addicted to everything. I'd have like a glass of wine because I was so tired, and I had to get up like 6 hours or 7 hours later, 6 hours later, 5 hours later, half of a joint, and go, I've got to go to bed, and then wake up and do it again.
And that was manual graft all the way through until obviously stepping up to site manager, foreman.
Site manager, no, it was assistant site manager, site manager. Then they have all different classes. So it was class 3, class 2, class 1.
Yeah.
Assistant project manager, then project manager. Then when I finished, I was like one of the senior project managers, and they was like, then you've got contracts. Funk that. I run my own job and I run it amazing. I got scores and stuff in when I was doing that you'd never achieve 100% in everything, and that's the reason why I come out of one company, because your bonus was linked.
Yeah, okay.
Your KPI was linked to all these different scores.
Yeah.
They send the operations director, the owner of the company, all my directors, other site managers from other big projects. This was 600 rooms, 33-storey student accommodation tower.
Okay. I was going to ask what you built.
Immaculate. No, that's just one of loads. Immaculate. Paperwork, health and safety, I won awards, manager of the month, all these different things. And then they turned around 7 months into the project and said, email come around, we're scrapping the KPI, we'll let you know what's happening with bonuses in the near future. And I went up there and I tore into them, and they said that, and I went, poke your job where the sun don't shine. And I left. But I was gutted because I had my feet under the table and I literally did what I wanted to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that finished then. Was that when Clockwork had started back again? Or was
No, I left that company and was still involved in it. Clockwork started 11 years ago. And I was doing, when it first started, I was working in Isha, getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning, getting there for 6.
Yeah, okay.
I had to work 6 in the morning till 4 in the afternoon, so I could do a 10-hour day and then drive home and get home at like 7:30 at night, because it was 3.5 hours to get home. It was just wall-to-wall traffic. And then Clockwork, and I was basically whittling down the projects to making it easier, like 20 apartments, and I could do Clockwork while I was doing that, and it was a lot easier. And then when lockdown came, the work, I was doing a refurb project, and after the lockdown, I decided I'd done one more project for a friend in Luton. Yeah. And after that, I went, that's it, I'm done.
So going on to lockdown, you're obviously still in the building game. Clockwork's back on the roll, on the rise. Parties are getting good. Everything's positive. Ibiza's rocking every single summer. Then stop. Does that sound about right?
Yeah.
So for me, an interesting period when, obviously, I don't know you very well, Danny, but obviously see you on socials. You are very good at coming back to people really quickly. You're always very good at that, and that's something I found really interesting. Someone who runs such a big promotion was still personable. Does that make sense? Yeah,
no, massively. It's the whole point of it. It's something I learned in sobriety, but getting sober 20 years ago, and that's what I rebuilt Clockwork on. You know, like the positive foundations of sobriety. You know, like treat others as you wish to be treated, and all these little positive quotes and comments. If it's a big, massive corporation, and we've had people trying to say, "Oh, we'll incorporate bots." Like, F off with your bots. I don't want bots. I hate bots. I hate being able to not get through to people, or call centre, or you get through to a thing. Press 1 for this. Press 2 for this. Press for... No, man. Just go back to people. It's exhausting, but that's the way it is. That's the way it is.
So is that when you say exhausting, is it to the point now it's too much, or you're still able to and quite happy to carry on with it?
Oh, I can still do it. Because in the build up to a project, in the build up to an event, if you deal with it every day and you reply to people, then it's manageable. If you try and do it like once a week or twice a week, you've got all these, you can't get through it. Like when we do an event and it's really good, and 99.999% of the people, except for the one Maggie or some geezer who's got the ump about whatever, and literally I start on my emails, 2 different email accounts, and you answer all them. Then the 2 different Facebook profiles, and you do them. then the Instagram, the WhatsApp, the text messages. So you go through all that, plus all the stuff to the business page and comments. Then literally, when it's a good event, you go back to the beginning and it's all started again. It's all full up again. So you have to go through it all again. It takes days.
So would you say your experience, obviously, with running high-pressured, large projects with multiple people and responsibilities there, has kind of helped you guide the newer way of working with events?
That's your personality.
Okay.
Certain people have got personalities where they want to do things their way, and kids in construction who learn and they get a master's degree, they go onto a site and they see a program and they expect it to be done like this. It ain't like that. The hoist ain't working. The deliveries, the drawings are wrong. The this, the that, illness, blah, 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 or obstructions. Other people ain't finished. It's how your brain works. But my brain's like wired incorrectly anyway. So you've got a switchboard from A to Z. Mine's Z, B, J, K. So I see the answer. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? Oh my God, what are we going to do? I'm like, I've already fucking done it. Do you know what I mean? Like, what's your problem? Oh, really? What did you do? So people are wired different. Mm. But as you get older, you can't. I used to think I was invincible. And when I finished with my boss, my company I was working for, this dry lining company, and my boss, he said, yeah, because we want to ask you, like, because you've done these projects and it seems to be getting a bit slower and all that, but we want to take you to this big project. And I went, nah. I said, I realise now I'm just getting older and I just can't smash it. I could do it, but it would take its toll now. You know?
Yeah, I do get it.
Yeah, it would take its toll for the what? For the sake of extra money and your health coming at risk. You know, I used to come out of construction when Clockwork was relaunching after lockdown, and honestly, it wasn't a headache. My head used to throb. I'm on the phone on the way home, calling up companies. Never run out of materials. Materials were on an all-time low from BG. Yeah. I'm stealing it from here. I'm stealing it from there. I'm telling the geezer, they don't need as many pallets on that job. Send them to me. He went, you sure? I mean, yeah. I've got 100 men. And I'm servicing them as well as running this project. Turn it around for my friend in Luton. My employee of the month, health and safety awards nearly every month since I got there. But I was just like...
burning.
I was done. And I went, that's it. I said, come home every day and lay on the floor for 20 minutes and try and sleep because I was beyond exhausted. I had fatigue.
And this is now, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is now completely clean. This is moved away from all the other excesses from previous.
Yeah, 20 years. I'm 20 years clean and sober this year, yeah.
Congratulations.
It's August. Yeah.
So that's completely fatigued, purely working because you're at your optimum.
Yeah, I'm pushing beyond the optimum.
Because there's nothing giving that additional buzz, if that makes sense.
No, it's age. There's nothing to do with buzz. It's to do with age. It's to do with an elastic band or a piece of elastic, and you keep stretching it, and it gets longer and longer and longer until it starts to fray. And I was fraying. You know, like those ones with those in the movies where they're hanging by a rope.
Yeah.
Someone's trying to cut it like Indiana Jones. It's like those, like they go bing, 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 bing. The last phrase. It was on that. And I know that by lockdown, I had to stop, and I could turn my phone off. And you know, you look at your phone once a day, and social media had all gone about people trying to lift each other's moods or moaning or all the conspiracy theories coming out. And I was just like, psh. It was just nice. I was just like, I don't have to organise nothing. I don't have to go nowhere. And that was it. After that, I quit the construction.
So I'll put it another way. In my industry, recruitment, it's high pressured, high reward, work hard, play hard has always been the attitude. But if I take the example you just made there, we have an industry that's very motivated, a lot around drink.
Yeah.
And probably a lot about drugs. And that's coming from the owners of the businesses down and the actual attitude of how the business is run. Now, I started 21 years ago in IT recruitment, and it was the Wild West. It was an absolute chaos environment, and the problem is now is that they're not learning their lessons, and the people now come from that kind of environment and now taking that into the new businesses. So the people are working the chaos that you're talking about there. They are then trying to still go out 2-3 nights a week and still function.
It's socialising, isn't it? They see it as socialising. But
Correct.
the more you socialise, the more your body becomes dependent on having something to socialise with, and the other stuff that you might take. And alcohol, is still on the TV. That romanticised, like glug glug glug, or the cold bead running down a glass on a hot day, is still romanticised. But it's one of the biggest killers and addictable substances in the world. Yeah, I'll have a drink. It's normal. You go to a restaurant, you go to a bar in the evening, go to a pub, go to a nightclub, drink. Do you know what I mean? Just drink. So no, they ain't going to learn, because that's the way it is. That's the way the world is.
So is there a kind of a post-COVID, do you feel we've come past that phase, or is still a ticking time bomb of people with their mental health and trying to do more they ever have done to make up for the periods they've lost?
What, substances?
Substances.
Substances are always substances, and you've got to work out your own destination or where you're going personally. It's never going to change. Alcohol and it's what's the word? How they like it to good times, party times, celebration, relaxing after a stressful day. Energy, enjoyment, it's all those things associated with it. And that's the same thing. Anything in moderation is all right. Do you know what I mean? Is all right. If I would have drunk moderately when I was a kid, but I didn't, I was wide wrong. I drank something and I was like, this makes me even more wilder. I enjoy this. I love it. I can just be out there with it. But I abused it. So I abused it. If you abuse a dog, it's going to turn on you, or, it's going to lose everything it's all about. And if you abuse yourself, then in the end, what the saying is, I abused it until the privilege was taken away, and it was a privilege. If I could, in the ideal world, have a glass of red wine with a meal, or a couple of beers with the boys, but as I'm even saying it to you, it's not. I'm saying a glass, but I'm looking at a bottle or two. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And as I'm saying a couple of beers with the boys, I'm thinking, what's the point of two? It's like when Liam Gallagher said to it, he said, oh yeah, mate said, come out for a pint. And he said, he looked at him and went, what's the point? He went, what's the point? He went, you get the flavour after one, and then you're in it. And that's the thing, gets the flavour. I've got to have a drink to enjoy myself. I've got to do a bit of this or smoke a bit of that to be part of that gang. And as soon as I stopped, I was like, this is me. This is me. I set my stall out and told the world that I weren't drinking and getting on it. And I fucking love it. I love being different.
It was good.
I wanted to be different then by being mental. Now I like being different because I'm the boring one.
But is it boring?
No, not to me it ain't, but to other people they might perceive it. Until the people who want part of that realise what it's all about, and then realise it ain't boring. It's just being at peace with yourself.
Deploy Recruitment Group provides fast and reliable recruitment across the UK and overseas. We source, screen and deliver quality skilled individuals to meet your business requirements. Using our extensive database, market knowledge, network and latest software, we provide access to specialised talent and address your industry's core challenges. Plan, supply and deliver safely. For more information, please visit our website, deployrecruit.com.
So, okay, let's fast forward. Clockwork Orange, which is obviously the business, which is the brand, which is what you're out here obviously promoting for Ibiza and organising at the moment.
Banana vape.
Vape.
It's lovely.
So, very simple. We do the what you do, the how you do it, and the why. And the why can't be about money. But because of obviously what you do and what we're discussing is slightly different, so we're going to do the what and the why together. So, what is Clockwork Orange, and why are you still doing Clockwork Orange after 30 years?
What is Clockwork Orange? What Clockwork Orange was just crazy atmosphere parties with big, massive lineups, which started with Brandon Block and Darren Emerson and Lisa Loud in 1993, and then because of a guy called Bernie St Clair. From UK, he started putting 3 DJs on his flyer and no one had ever seen it, or 4. So then we started putting 5 or 6.
Yeah. And
then went from like 5 or 6 to like 7 or 8. We've always put too many DJs on. Like for Ibiza, last year we had too many. And this year we've had to change a venue, but we've got too many DJs. And so you're giving value for money. And it was all about decoration, the atmosphere, the venue, and the marketing, the flyers, which I always used to sit with the guy and design, or the posters, or the campaigns for Ibiza and all stuff like that. And what it is now is very much the same as that, because my brother was promoting when I'd left Clockwork, or when I stopped doing it. And I went, what's the flyers like? And he went, no one does flyers anymore. He went, it's all online. I went, really? What's the decoration like? I went, what's the lasers like? He went, no one does that anymore. I went, what? He went, yeah, they're just like a little warehouse in East London, and it's all dark. And I went, really? I went, no decor. He went, no. I went, what about the DJs? He went, no, they're all underground. I went, fucking hell. And that's what it is. So you walk in and like Printworks, when we had all the lights going on there, when we have the extra lasers plus all their stuff, and the VJs. Don't just have one VJ and a two VJs. And speaking to the lady the other day, and she went, we spent 50% more this year than we did on DJs the time before.
Right.
So I'm still never learning, but it makes it a massive show.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
I do.
It's like if you're going to make a movie, you don't do it with a rubbish budget. And that's the whole thing about when Clockwork came to the end, or was coming to the end, and the numbers dropped in the early, just after the millennium, or just coming up to that. So I went the biggest promoter on the island, 99 went down like that, 2000 went down like that, because the island was saturated with promoters. And so I had to take out all the budget of all the big globe balls with projections on them, and the extra lights, and no dancers. And I was like, this ain't me.
No.
This ain't me.
Okay,
I was on a shoestring trying to earn some money because you didn't have no income. And I went, this ain't me. This ain't me. But that's what Clockwork's all about, trying to make something like spectacular. So you just come away and just go, wow.
So interesting.
Let me just say this. People who say they go to a club and there's 200 people in it, and it's got F all in it, and they come away and they say that was epic. That's one of my pet hates. What's epic about a shithole venue? Unless the music's like spot on for you personally, or you all communicate unknowingly together and you're in that zone, that's epic. But don't tell me some rubbish club in the middle of nowhere with like 60 people, that was epic. No, that is a pet hate of mine. I hate it.
So interesting comments you've made about obviously Facebook, Instagram, social media, and the internet. So you started 30 years ago.
We started before the internet.
Exactly, with zero.
The internet started in 94, didn't it?
Yeah, must be about 94.
Yeah.
So let's say tomorrow.
Makes you feel old. Makes you feel like a dinosaur.
But it doesn't. It means that you've got a lot of insight and expertise on how to actually help the next generation and actually advise. You probably don't realise you're probably one of the most, for yourself personally, your personal branding, as they call it these days, is like here, in my view.
You've got to make it excitable. You've got to make it fun. You've got to make it enjoyable. Thing is the same as it. They do the same kind of stuff and they have a laugh and they make it interesting, and they're on a different wave universe to me, like Defected.
Yeah.
A lot of respect for them, and I never market my stuff the same as anyone else's. No. You be unique. But every day there's 3 designers making stuff every day,
right,
keeping the content fresh. This stuff, we've done thousands of videos and designs, making it like interesting. So you look at it and you not only laugh, it interests you, the lineups are big, you want to go, something a bit serious, something like more humour.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
But,
fun.
But you've got...
Otherwise I wouldn't do it.
You've got 30 years of stuff to talk about, which is interesting. And it keeps people coming back, regardless of them being with you from 30 years ago or people finding you now. Does that make sense? So let's say, for example, the internet broke. It went. What advice would you give to any promoter or anyone thinking about getting into promotion of how to start again from the ground up? What was the thing that you went, right, if I can do this, I'm going to get attraction to people to come to my events?
Well, then
was
a different world, because you think coming out of the raves and the government making it all legal for big gatherings and outside and all going into clubs. That's when clubs grew and developed into super clubs. So then, if you looked at magazines and Time Out, there was parties literally. You'd go to an awards or there was something on a Wednesday. Thursday it got bigger. Friday it was bigger. Saturday and Sunday, across the UK, there was hundreds of clubs. So associated with that was clothes shops, record shops primarily, any shops that were associated with like the dance scene. So you'd go to Covent Garden, you put the flyers in Ted Baker, you'd ask to put a thing in the window. I'd go up and down the King's Road, putting the flyers in. You go up, you'd walk back and check, and they'd throw them in the bin. So it was monotonous. But then you collect their email addresses and their home addresses and their names, and you'd sit there. I'd have my nan, my mum, and my auntie sitting there with envelopes, with a newsletter, with a flyer, which we'd try and write the newsletter in a special way.
So your marketing team?
Yeah, they were. Yeah, which they didn't get nothing, and then they would go out to like thousands of people, and then you'd realise you'd sent out a flyer and it didn't. You'd had 10,000 flyers printed up and there was no date on it, so you had to write the date in pen like 10,000 times, like 10,000 lines from school. So you literally walk the streets. Then you go and do outside clubs. So you do outside clubs in the evening. You go at Ministry of Sound, put the flyers on the car. So then we went to the garage first and we stole all the plastic gloves. So we put our flyers in the plastic glove on the windscreen. So they kept
clever. Okay,
so they kept dry.
Yeah.
And they looked a bit more unique. And then that was it. Clubs and stand outside and then word of mouth. Come and Clockwork. We've got this DJ, we've got this. Oh, where is it? Oh, yeah, it's at Hollywood's. Or we're starting to do the cross. Or we're going to Ibiza. Do you think we started Ibiza in '94? The internet weren't here. It was literally, we flew over with the posters. And our luggage, each one of us took 2 boxes of flyers as well as our luggage. And you carried them onto a plane. Carried them onto a plane. You got away with it. That was our flyer for the summer. 1 flyer, DJs throughout the summer. '94, we had like Digweed, Jules. Like Digweed had never been to Ibiza. Jules had never been to Ibiza in '94, never played anywhere. Brandon Alex had residence, Lisa Loud, and that's how it started. And you go around all the shops and all the restaurants, all the beaches, and give them out.
What else was the marketing? So you're here now in Ibiza, you've handed out all the flyers. What else were you doing to get attraction? What else that stood you out? Because obviously, as you said, there was a lot of club nights.
That's how you market it. It's how you sell it. It's going to be amazing. Have you ever been to Paradise? I've never been. Or they had been. Oh, you won't believe it. And the roof opens. It never used to have no roof. It's those hooks for selling.
So did you have individuals doing the flyering on the beach?
I used to do it.
On your own?
Yeah, I used to do it with people. Yeah. Or I'd take a team out and drop them at one end. By 1997, 98, drop them at one end of Playa d'Embossa, drive to the other end, and then they used to walk all the way along giving out the flyers.
And how many was that? 2, 3 people?
2 or 3, 4 people, all in the back of a transit van. Then they go around in the evening giving them out. This is before tickets were sold in Ibiza as well. So everything was on the door.
Okay.
Everything was on the door.
And what was the capacity at the time of Amnesia, which obviously was the super club, which was the biggest at the time? Is that right?
Nah, not really. No, 3,000, whatever. Paradise was 1,900. Whatever Pasha was, 2,500. I don't really know. Then Coup was open. Then that was still 10,000.
Right, I didn't realise that.
Yeah, Coup was still open. And then Space on a Sunday, Brandon Alex, 700-800, maybe 1,000, maybe on a good week.
So, if you had people listening now who literally try and put on events, they obviously do everything via the internet. There's no walking around.
It's a different fish now.
There's no ability to actually seeing people face to face. Yours was very much a human element to why people turned up to your events. It was
not recreating. It was something that. Imagine how many people probably went to Clockwork in the 90s. Probably like, I don't know, hundreds of thousands. So it's that association. But then it became digitalised with the Facebook. I've always said, and I do say it, I've been banned from Facebook for certain reasons, for like silly things. One of them was quite funny. I took a photo of a guy on the train. He looked like a lion. He had this strange beard in his hair, and I put it up and I went, oh my God, there's an effing lion on the train. And by the time I got to Tower Hill, I'd uploaded it. By the time I got to Liverpool Street, access to your account has been restricted. Like the man, the guy I put the photo up of, someone of my friends saw it, sent it to him, and went, oh my God, this is you. He reported it within the space of 4 or 5 minutes, and I was like banned for 2 weeks. That don't happen anymore. But I've always said if it wasn't for Facebook, then I never would have done this again. I never would have done that street. It had changed so much that where do we go and buy our stuff anymore? We don't go Covent Garden and And, you know, we used to go to Michiko Casino and all these different wicked venues and buy all these wicked clothes. And you wouldn't even know where to start. The King's Road's all high-end flats and it's all changed, and galleries. And I was like, no. But with Facebook, that's how the word spread, and that's how it restarted. Before Instagram started as well.
And before Instagram started. But obviously lockdown came in, obviously no events happening. You were on Centreforce at the time with Andy.
Centreforce started, yeah, and my thing started on there as a result of lockdown, yeah. And I love doing my radio show. I love it. I get to play the music that I've loved all my life. Stuff that I've heard 30 years ago, and when I find it on YouTube, I'm like, oh my God, I've not heard this since I was 15 or 16, do you know what I mean? And no, I love my radio show.
And Saturday mornings 10 till 12?
9 to 11.
9 to 11.
You should know, you sponsor it.
I do sponsor it,
Yeah,
and that's why I'm always late, because I'm normally doing kids run of football, so that's why I'm normally on about
But I love
10.
it. When you get a radio show in a club, yeah, when it's rocking, Brighton, going back to Brighton after lockdown, that atmosphere was like beyond the 90s.
Electric.
There was just this energy in the room, like we've been let out, and it was just insane. And but when you get the radio right, standing in your pants in the loft with a coffee and your own little environment and reading the messages and doing your jingles and doing the stuff and you're mixing, and I'll write stuff down so I can rhyme it or put it in the right way. So you're having to juggle all this. When you get it all right and you come off, it's a buzz.
It is a buzz.
Yeah, it's a buzz.
And I think within lockdown, with obviously Clockwork being involved, with Centreforce putting events on while there was no events able, I think that probably helped a lot of people get through some really tough periods.
They were good days.
Really.
What, like 12, 16 hours of DJs and all charity, and you had, who did you have? Dave Morales, you had Rat Pack, you had Jeremy, you had all these people. I think the first time we did it for the NHS, we raised 40 grand.
Amazing.
Where's that gone? Where's that gone? Because now after all of this, and you start reading stuff and you started to realise that the world is not as quiet as what it was.
No.
I was a bit more clouded then because I was so busy, but my eyes opened up. Where'd that 40 grand go? Do you know what I mean? Where did it actually go? Did it go to fund nurses or for special equipment or for old people in isolated wards in lockdown? Then the second one was a bit more believable. It was the what was it? It was the Centre Point in London. That was about like 20 something grand, I think. But yeah, it was that was fun. Yeah, something to lift the people when the lockdown came.
And do you think that's that?
And the Sunday sessions. So I used to do that. I used to do the fancy dress thing.
That's right, you did.
Yeah, but it was hard work, mate. Finding fancy dress every week. But a friend of mine who was in prison, who got let out a couple of years ago, he came to Printworks. And he went, do you know what? He said, like, there was some tough times in prison, but he said, when you was on a Sunday, he said, I used to sit there and laugh. So it made it all cool. Do you know what I mean?
And that, I think, and that's where probably I think people from people who weren't involved and obviously saw this during lockdown would probably not understand how much it did help a lot of people through the tough times.
Yeah, like Gok. Gok launched himself on the back of of COVID.
He did, and I think you were the first promotion to give him his step up to the bigger stages.
He was. We got the rumour he was doing something. We were sold out. We were sold out for the festival in 2021, and like everybody was talking about him. The girls who loved him during lockdown, and we found a space, and then I secured it, and then we got him in. We didn't need him.
No,
but we put him on the bill.
But he came very popular very quickly.
Yeah.
Off the back
and he's got charisma and a personality, and he's
a lovely guy.
Yeah, the status he's achieved and all that, and he's a lovely guy, and they love him.
He is a lovely guy, 100%. Okay, so present day. So why? We didn't get the why. Why are you still doing it? And money can't be related. 30 years on, why are you still doing it?
Because it's always. I'll tell you why. Because I'm always trying to improve it. Because I never rest on my laurels. I never want to just do the normal. I always want more performers, more lights, better venues, something a bit. If you just keep doing the same old rubbish, if I would never do as a Clockwork some rubbish bar, then it's finished. Do you know what I mean? If you can't keep, not like 30,000, 40,000 people, because then you lose the foundation and the ethos of what it's all about, like the community. But it gets like that with a festival, because you get people who ain't quite what we're all about, doing things that we're not all about. But it's about finding different venues and the excitement and the promotion, and that's why I do it.
Okay. So,
and it's successful. If it's not successful, I'll stop. I just stop.
You just stop.
I just stop. If it started to go like that, I would not flog a dead horse. It's been 11 years. It's come around the second time more than the first time. It's far more successful the second time than it was, because I learnt by my mistakes by being sober. And if it started to go like that, that's me done. I ain't flogging no dead horse. I did it before, and I was like, that's it. I'm out of here.
Okay.
And this year, I've got one big event on the Sunday that all the promotion kicks in the next week and then builds up to the event. All the rest of the events are just about to sell out.
So with 2023, we say 30 years. You've had a sold-out print work so far this year.
20 minutes.
That's unbelievable.
Yep.
It's fantastic. Successful event.
Yeah, it was amazing. Yeah, it's brilliant. Went so quick. Even when I was sober, this year I went, I'm not going to get there at 10 o'clock in the morning. I'll get there at 12. And I come at 12 and people are arriving, and then I went, it's 2:30. And I was on at 4 or something, and then Seb went on, something like that. And I got ready and I played like 4 till 5 or 5 till 6, I can't remember. And then it was 10:30. And like 11:15, Darren Emerson was on, and I got a taxi, and I was back at the hotel by 11:05.
Crazy, right?
Yeah, no, I was like, where did that go?
So the whole build up to the event is promote, organise, and then.
It's also, sorry to interrupt you, it's also by analysing what you have to spend and what in like forms of advertising now you have to spend. Well, when Clockwork was around, it was only up till about 4 years ago. Didn't spend a penny on advertising.
Okay.
It was just all posts. Didn't spend a penny, but they realised and they cut your reach. So
right, I didn't realise that.
No, massively. When Clockwork first started on social media on Facebook, you put an event on, and each individual that you could invite 30,000 people to the event. So I would invite 5,000 people, then Blocko would invite, Andy would invite.
Right.
And then they went, hold on a minute. So then they stopped that.
I didn't know that.
Then we found a little code to be able to do it, but the code was changing daily. So that became too much of an aggro. And then you started to see the posts, like you was getting like so much love, and then they're shrinking it because the organics of it, they started to cut that so that you spend. So that I think what they're trying to do, and what the rumours I heard, is even for a personal profile, they're trying to do it in the future so you pay for it.
I've seen on Instagram now that they're allowing people to buy blue ticks.
Yeah.
So I think it's like £10 a month and you get verified. Well, that's not being verified, that's just paying to try and be something that's not official. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but then they still can't give it to people who have got like 15 followers. And they haven't achieved anything. So you would analyse it and go, it's pathetic. You can't buy it. They won't let you have it. It's like if you was to try and say you're a professional footballer, if you're in a GM Vauxhall Conference League, and you're a substitute every week, people look at it and laugh. Do you know what I mean? It has to have some form of success behind it to make it believable.
Yes.
Can't have some Mickey Mouse promoter who's doing like 30 people and it's a joke to them and they're off their head every week going, we're amnesia. Like, no, you're not. No, you're not. Because you don't get in the door of amnesia unless you've like done something special.
So give us an estimate then. What's now call it on Printworks, which is obviously a separate venue. What sort of numbers did you have to spend on advertising for that event?
Hardly zero.
Okay.
Yeah, hardly zero, because the year before was a push up until 2 weeks before.
Yeah.
And we stopped on less numbers. And because they increased the venue this year, I wanted the certain dates. I wanted one of the last dates in there.
Yeah.
And I went to see him in a meeting last August. And bloody hell, it was almost a year ago. And he said, I've got good news and bad news. I went, I want the bad news. He went, you can't have the beams because of a certain reason. I went, don't care. He went, but you can have Printworks on the 25th of March. And I went, sweet. And I didn't realise, the VIP sold out, but I didn't realise. And then put it on sale. My dog, something could happen to her paws. I think she burnt them on like rock salt in the winter.
Right, okay.
So her
Dry
paws
up.
were sensitive. Oh, I love my dog. I adore my dog. So like,
What dog you got?
A little cockapoo.
Okay.
And I can't wait to see her after being here. I love her. Anyway, you get me emotional. Nothing else gets me emotional. I love my dog. I just want to smell her and cuddle her. And
That's the first sign of emotion.
yeah, no, totally. And so we're taking her to the vets. He couldn't find nothing wrong. And then we said, her paw, she still went, oh, like that. I went, right. So we went to take her again. We just about to walk her out the door. And the guy called Joe from Caboodle, when he rung me up, after 20 minutes, he went, you've sold 2,500 tickets. He went, there's another 2,500 people online waiting to buy them. He said, you're going to sell out in 20 minutes. And I went, what? I was like, my dog's standing there looking at me. And I'm like, I don't get stunned very much because I've got a high levels of expectancy. And he went, yeah, you're going to sell out. And I was just like, rang Andy up. I went, guess what? He went, what? I went, sold out. He went, what's sold out? I went, Printworks. He went, shut up. I went, yeah. Then you got the problem of the people who want the tickets who you can't get the tickets for. Do you know what I mean? So it's a double-edged sword. But no, it was fantastic. It was fantastic. But we didn't spend nothing because it went and done a little bit, but probably 10% of what you normally do to get it out there to the right people to like drive it to a certain point. That was it. It was done. Never spend no more money. It's all organic.
So now we're going up to what our class as the chaos phase of you've got Chelmsford race courses come up 1st of July.
That's right.
And then Ibiza less than 2 weeks after that.
The 19th, yeah.
Sorry, it's 19th.
2.5 weeks.
Now, that's a crazy man's, in my view, thing. You've got something that holds, what's Chelmsford?
15.
15,000.
Yep.
And then Ibiza, which is obviously a different animal, on the 19th for Wednesday through to the Monday. Is that right?
It's longer this year for the 30th anniversary. I'm going to shrink it again next year.
Okay. So let's take Chelmsford. When, from a business point of view, let's just go back to Chelmsford. Why did you suddenly want to do the race course? Or how did that come about? Because ultimately it's like, you've suddenly gone from the clubbing events to 15,000 capacity.
It started off as 10. We'd done a venue. We was asked to do it and was asked to go and have a look at it by one of the events guys there called Brian. And he said, come and have a look at it. I was like, no, come and have a look. No. And we'd done an event in London, really successful. And these people had no bar staff, no security. They didn't have generators for certain things, which I'd hired for certain things that I had to lend to them. It was a shambles. And then afterwards, there was other things that added insult to injury associated with this venue. Sure. And I just rang Andy up. I went, let's fucking go for it. Let's go for it. Let's do it ourselves and make it how we should be making it ourselves. Went to see Chelmsford. They've got Brian and they've got James, the events manager, spoke our language, and that was it. The first one, I don't think there was a single complaint on the first one. Okay. Yeah, only about the black flies that landed on people's yellow tops because of the heat. Like, what do you want me to do about that? Do you know what I mean? And then it grew to 15. Last year it was about 16. And then this year we take it down to 15 because September 21, I just remember it was sublime. But one of... it wasn't on site, it was a Wi-Fi tower. Right. The cables got cut or they got vandalised on the day of our thing, which is quite apt. And the Wi-Fi went down for an hour. And that just ruined my day. I was there, I remember. Yeah, just ruined my day. It spun me out. It put me on the back foot all day. And then last year was just amazing. And then this year will be the same amount of numbers, 15. But just want to get it spot on.
So let's go to actually. So as a punter, I turn up and I go, "This is amazing," but I have zero concept of what it takes to actually put on something that scale. So, take the first one. How long ahead of it did you start planning Chelmsford?
9 months.
9 months.
9-10 months. Yeah. Now it's a year. I go there the day after. Say it's on the Saturday. I'll go there on the Sunday. And then walk round with the guy where we've got things wrong and then like talk about them. And then when I get back from here, we'll have meetings about them things that I spoke about on the first time. And then all the other stuff, trying to organise it.
So that's 1 year. And how many stages you got there now?
7 or 8.
So there's 8 stages.
Yeah.
The amount of DJs numbers?
65, 70.
So that's That's tents, marquees. That's massive.
Yeah, it's
tops.
the bug beats. It's like the van. There's like the discos, a big long marquee again this year. This year the main stage is open air. Then you've got Tannitt Beach with 200 tons of sand, and then made to look like a beach again. And we're flying the Tannitt Beach staff over with their managers. So we're bringing their staff over, so it's like authentic.
Right. Okay. So you've got the separated beach section within the racecourse.
Yep.
With the actual staff from Ibiza being flown over.
Yeah, and then the DJs who normally play the beach. Yeah. Then you've got flights, accommodation, transport on the day.
You organising all that?
We have companies. We've got a company for the transport, a company for the flights. You've got management teams. Then you've got management teams there on the day that's like working on it and processes and systems for a year. You think though, like, you know, we do like 15 in one, and then you got other people. You think like Glastonbury? Think what goes into that? That's just mind numbing.
It is mind numbing.
It's a word someone I know can't say. It's compartmentalised. You can't think of all the Glastonbury. You go right, okay. You've got this section here that's blue. It's all segregated, and then like, you know, there's a guy running that with like 4 managers underneath him, and so, and the same with that. When you're dealing with 150,000 people a day, that's a whole new ball game. You can't please all the people. There's problems, there's fights, there's shit that goes on.
So how many staff roughly, other than the DJs, are on site for Chelmsford? How many people are actually hired?
On a day total, probably about 300. Bar staff, security, management, running people, even more really with the lights, sound, VJs, drivers, stewards, food staff. There's so much, probably over 300.
Jesus. And then from that point of view, from what I'm understanding from what we're discussing, you're always on, you're never switching off.
I'm always walking around, talking to people and in trying to enjoy it and looking around, and like, you know, before you start you want to make sure that's shut and this is that and this is happening, and then walking around and then keep an eye on stuff. And
obviously, as you said before, is that you're very much about not just having a tent with people in it. What is there to look forward to this year, or can you not say at this stage? So what performance?
Just did like the decoration. I knew what was missing last year, the production.
So what was missing then? What was the lessons learned from last year?
More like high level stuff, in the sense of stuff that's more like eye catching. So we've got these big letters this year, like love and happiness and joy, and they're going to be spray painted by these graffiti artists. So they'll be like all around the place. So you'll see them, like more screens. The open air will add more to it, so it's not all enclosed in a big, massive like Valhalla tent. And then I let them do. They go, "Oh, what do you think about this?" I'm like, "Just do what you do." And then there's more performers this year, like some more stilt walkers, the big puppet walkers, guy, funny stuff. And she's like, "Well, what about this?" I trust you.
Anything goes.
Yeah, no, just get on. No, not really. No. Some of the things she sends, like Sam bless her, and I go no. She goes, what? And I go, no, there's a no on that one. But 90% of the stuff, she goes, I think this would be good. I'm like, cool. You're going to do it anyway, even if I say no, so you might as well do it.
So how big's the team internally now from Clockwork Orange that's involved in this alongside yourself and Andy?
4.
Okay.
Yeah, 4. It's Paul, Nathan, Justin and Adrian. And then the guys who work for us and help us a lot on the door in Ibiza, they'll be like, you know, Paul Bagley and a few others, because we're doing our own thing on Sunday this year. But it's only a handful of people. And I used to do all that myself with 1 or 2 designers, and then run the door as well with 2 or 3 people up to about 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago. Just did it too much. I was like, that's enough.
And that was your piece about the stretching and...
Yeah, just everything. Not able to let things go. But now it's all about delegating. You get the right person for that position. You go, right, that's yours. Crack on. What do you think? I'm like, yeah, good idea. Crack on.
Do you find that difficult?
No, not anymore.
Did you though?
No, my boss said to me, because I used to run jobs and get all these 100% records and stuff like that. And my boss said to me, you know, your problem, what's that? He went, don't delegate. I went, yeah, because if I don't do it, I know it ain't going to get done. He went, yeah, but you've got to get someone who you think is right, and then you delegate, and then they do the job, and it takes less pressure off you. Once I started delegating, I didn't stop. I went, you can do that. Yeah, but I'm busy. No, I want it done now. Right, cool. Yeah, go on. Yeah, but, no buts. come on, let's get it done. Yeah, sweet. Right. I'll make you a coffee when you come back. Right, cool. What are you doing? Oh, yeah, I'm just going to... No, I need you to go and do that. Oh, right, cool. And I was just like, oh, my God. Then I went the other way. I was like, yep. Because as I said, I've got this jumbled mind that I know what makes the main contractor happy when I was in construction.
Yeah.
Not to spend extra money, all part of the scope of building it, but I knew what to do to build. Even if it was not out of sequence, it wouldn't cost us any money, and it would advance the program. So you would know what ammo to fight back with when they try to come over you using delay, and I was good at it.
So did you find that skill set has really helped with obviously things like the bigger projects like Chelmsford now? Yeah,
because I went from organising stuff all over Europe and designing the flyers, giving out the flyers, standing on the door. I didn't used to DJ then, so the organisation of it. Then went into like being a site labourer and then coming as a site manager. And it's just organisation. Those metals need to go to that man or be preloaded for that job, and we need to order that for that. So it was taking that skill set into that. And then going back from construction back into clockwork again. I'd already done clockwork. I just fine-tuned it.
That's great.
Yeah,
That's
just
incredible.
fine-tuned it to the new world and social media and posts and funny and venues, what I said about it.
But stay personable and stay relevant and make sure it's all about the people rather than it being...
Customer service. That's what's got lost in the 21st century. That's what I said to you. You ring a number and if you want to speak, like, leave a message or speak this, but I've pressed number 1, fuck off. Send me an email and I'll sort it out, and it's easy. Like, someone sends me a message, I go, right, that's my email address. Send me an email and I'll copy you in with the person. I go, this person needs that. What does it take? It's only rare occurrences or the odd individual. Yeah. It's not like 20,000 people need something. Most people know what they want. It's people with disabilities, or there's a thing with a man who needs some insulin, so he needs a private space, somewhere for someone to go and chill because they've got something wrong with their leg. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that wouldn't have even occurred to me.
Oh, massively. Though. You get loads of things like that. So it puts their mind at rest so they can enjoy it. Or a lady said she didn't want to go Cova. We've nearly sold it out now because of her leg. And I said, if you want, I will drive you from Cova Santa to West Paradise afterwards. No, that's all right. No, okay, we won't go because of my leg.
We've got Ibiza coming up in July. As you said, it's a longer one this year as it's 30th anniversary. So it's Wednesday through to the Monday. Let's just go through it. So what's happening on each night before we go into the detail?
Wednesday is Cafe Del Mar. And we're bringing 6 members of the Royal Philharmonic and London Symphonic Orchestra.
That's a mouthful.
Yeah, to play the last 6 tracks of the Sunset, which will be like trance classics, remodelled into like a Sunset kind of just reworked, basically, rewritten, so they play it all out. So the last track that we're working, which will be Cafe Del Mar at Cafe Del Mar, which is quite like iconic for me, considering that Cafe Del Mar was the first place we went to before Mambo's was even built. And then we'll do a little like after dance kind of thing in there in the big bit of Cafe Del Mar.
Yep.
Thursday's free boat parties, they're all sold out. The Wednesdays, all the tables are reserved. There's like 100 for Sunset. They're already done. So you can just turn up and watch it and have a drink on the bar. Friday, Cova Santa is going to be sold out in about a week.
Incredible.
Es Paradise is 3/4 done.
That's on the same evening?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, coaches will take people to Es Paradise. And then Saturday, the place we don't talk about, that's sold out. All the beds are reserved. And then Sunday is a Recinto Ferial with 30 members of the London Symphonic and Royal Philharmonic Orchestra.
Very well done.
They go on at about 10 o'clock to 11:30. But then we've got like Roger Sanchez, Mark Knight, Got One, K-Class Live, and then a load of like Spanish guys like PP and stuff, and Tall Paul and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. And it's a new venue. We wanted something different. And I was looking around and all these different ones, and I got taken there and I looked around and I was like, oh my God, it's like a warehouse in Ibiza. And it's just massive. And we're going to have food and Red Bull and Ballantine's and all sponsoring it. And
okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Food courts outside and all different things going on.
What's the capacity of that?
Can take up to about 5,000-6,000.
Okay.
Yeah, so it'll probably get near that because I've remodelled my promotion this year to increase that, and then we'll have more performers going on and all stuff. It's got a big massive marquee outside. That's the only thing, and then we're going to take all the sides off of it and most of the roof, so it's got shade, and then decorate it all. The inside will all be decorated with a massive big stage. It's got a big massive glass VIP room at one end that looks down on the stage in the main room, and that's air conditioned. Goes on from 4 p.m. till 2 a.m.
So how do you, obviously I know you've done Ibiza for a long time over the years, and you've got the consistency of the clockies that come year in, year out. How have you managed to mould it to still keep let's call it the old school happy with newer members coming in, or does the traditional clockies, play a big part of making everyone welcome?
Yeah, no, they do. It's the older element. It's clockies in the sense that you call it like that, but then you've got also the mature raver. You've got a mature raver, then you've got the mature raver who just wants to be with the mature raver. That's all cool. That's all well and good, but that eventually dies out because they don't go out all the time, or they're less able to go out all the time. But now we've got the people who come, then you've got the people who say, oh, well, there shouldn't be no kids. And I used to be that mentality. But then when someone's turning up and they're bringing their 18-year-old kid or their 20-year-old kid for the first time to a Clockwork, oh, this is my daughter. Some people bring their grandchildren.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That makes me feel old. Like, that's really like what? What's going on now?
But also impressive.
No, and it's wicked. So then how do you turn around to someone and say, oh, I don't think you should be bringing your kids when they're dancing together and putting photos up, like, and I had the most amazing day with my daughter and my son. There you go. That's called progress. That's called progress, and being in it for like 30 years. Do you know what I mean? Where those people were the same age as them who have now gone that full capability or whatever, and now they're like 48 and their kids are 18.
Yeah.
And it's gone a whole generation.
So with the DJ lineup, it's a different country, different mentality of organising and putting stuff together. Have you found that a lot more challenging as the years have gone by in comparison to saying
got a lot more expensive?
A lot more expensive.
Used to be a hostel or a simple thing, or if you was having when we used to do Ibiza in the 90s when it was big, you'd have like Jeremy Ely, Tall Paul might be here for the summer. But the thing was, they used to fly in then, and most of them used to take the piss. So you'd have Jeremy on our night, then he'd go and do Cream on a Thursday, or Brandon and Alex were doing everything they could because they were living here. And then you'd fly in Jules, who might fly in and fly out. So, but now, bringing, I don't know, how many have we got? 16, 30, 40 DJs, and flights and accommodation.
Is that dealing directly with
Last year
them
doubled.
and agents
Last year
as well?
doubled. Oh, massively. Last year doubled from 2019, and this year is probably going to double again. Well, no, it's going to triple because there's 30 flights and accommodation and wages just for the orchestra.
Oh, of course. So
it's massive. That's almost the same cost as all the DJs put together. It's huge.
So is this? In your
but if you ain't gonna do sorry to interrupt you, if you ain't gonna do something special and different,
I was going to ask, yeah.
What's the point? Same DJ, same venue, same fuck, isn't it? Same that. It's like, oh, my brain don't work like that. I'd rather not do it. I'd be brain dead. I'd be like, this is not exciting. New venue, big challenge, 30 members of these. They've been in a rehearsal and it's all been written by the composer Matthew Freeman for the last 7 months.
Wow.
It's been in planning for a year. We got in talks with them last July. Then when I came back in like August, September, it was signed, it was done. Then you got the members of the orchestra, then the lineups, and now the promotion for it is like there's so much promotion about to kick in and stuff, and that's the last element.
So this is the run into it now.
Yeah. This is full steam ahead now.
So that's postering around the island.
Postering's the most bottom form of it. You're talking radio adverts, you're talking airline companies, you're talking like ticket sellers, billboards in Ibiza town. There's just tons of stuff. Social media influencers, companies, posts. What else is there? There's stuff that I've done that I've even forgot about, and it's all been secured. I leave you, I go and see someone else. I've got to go and do a jingle for global radio, and there's pure radio, and then I've got to go from there to meet someone in the Botfock Marina for 3 o'clock, and then jump on a flight at 6.
Back home.
Yeah, back home to the heatwave. Yeah,
So that's
warmer than here. Sun's gone.
it has gone back in. So to the normal human, everything you just said there is probably quite mind-blowing.
That's experience. It's 30 years of experience, not just experience, but there's keeping your finger on the pulse and understanding the market. The market's changed in England. Festivals are being cancelled in England because those who can afford to go are jumping in. Those who can't afford to go might leave it till the last minute, or they haven't got the money whatsoever. So there's festivals being cancelled. There was a few in the last couple of weeks putting up notices out of our due to unforeseen circumstances, and other ones are just saying we haven't sold enough tickets, so we're cancelling it. That won't happen with Chelmsford, and it's the same with Ibiza. I've seen a different buying dynamic, but I reacted to it in April. Not like now panicking. I saw it 2 months ago.
Right, okay.
And I went, right, I need to change things. And I've been working on that ever since.
So other promoters, other people, what from you is the kind of biggest things they're not learning, and what are the biggest things they keep repeating the same mistakes?
Same old shit.
Okay.
Same old shit. Same old flyer, same old DJ, same old venues. It's like going out in a pair of black jeans and a black T-shirt every day. It is fucking boring. You're not Danny from Greece. I used to wear black in my crazy period, and then when I got sober, I started wearing colour. I was like, oh my God. I was like, you know what I mean? Like, I was like, oh my God, orange and blues, and I just wear black because I thought I was cool. But if you're doing the same stuff, it's even the music. I like to play like different music. I won't just play specifically whatever. I'll play like some not random track, but trying to like, you know what I mean? It's everything. It's from your design to your venue to your production to the performers. It's all got to be different every time. You can't have, oh, but that's what the girl, she always keeps going on to me. But the clock faces, they are clockwork. I mean, yeah, but you've used them fucking 2 times. So I'm bored of it. But the people ain't. All right, cool. There's only a few of them. Right, cool. But we have got 97% of the other performers, which are different. Right, cool. All right. So it's just got to be different. Any product's got to be the same. So you look at what, when we were kids, it was called 7-Up.
Yeah.
Changed it to Sprite.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Like, why?
Wine.
Do you know what I mean?
Snickers, Mars, marathons.
They think they're like changing something. Can't change the name of it. You've got to change the actual experience of it. So someone walks into a venue and goes, oh, it's just a face. It's like in a big venue where you can spend the money. And if you ain't getting the numbers, if you haven't got the success, you can't invest that into an event. And that's the reason why I left when I was doing Clockwork before, because it was going like that, didn't have the money, and I couldn't spend, and I couldn't make the spectacle that I wanted it to be, or the location, or the big DJs, everything combined. And I was like, what's the point? What's the point? I'm not just going there as a job and just doing it and going home. It's got to be worth your while.
So you still enjoy the thrill of the chase of getting the events to be in
to the line.
Yeah.
To the line, and then on the day, it has to be the right weather. If it ain't the right weather, it pisses me off. The day after Clockstock last year was blue skies and little white clouds, whereas on the day we had a breeze, and we did have blue sky and sunshine, but we had a lot more white cloud than normal. And that fucking annoyed me. Do you know what I mean? That's out of my control, but it has to be spot on.
Has to be perfect.
Yeah, it has to be spot on. And learning, I might make a flippant comment to say, that's all right, that's part and parcel of it, but it'll play on my mind. It does my head in.
So give us a lessons learnt from last year to what's been improved this year. It could be something really small for Clockwork.
Numbers, production, security, traffic. There's always elements because there's so many people there's so much stuff that you have to fine tune.
So what is anything big from last year, this year you've made an improvement on, for example? Transportation?
Yeah, the transportation, same thing, the elements of the security for certain reasons. The production, the Wi-Fi now is all hardwired. That doesn't affect anyone, but it should increase turnover times. Yeah, so there's loads of it.
And that's Chelmsford's?
Yeah, but then the next day after it, when we have a quick catch up on the phone, it could be a whole new different ballpark.
And it's continual improvement. There's never this is okay.
Nah, what's the point?
Okay.
I can do that with food that I cook. this is okay because it's for me. But if I was making food for someone else, it'd have to be the best food.
Yeah, I get that.
Do you get what I mean?
So
Like I was sweeping up the floor before you come round. Although it's not my place,
Yeah.
I didn't want it to have all leaves. There's leaves, but if I lived here, I'd have a blower. Take them all away.
So one final thing.
Tall, dark and handsome.
Tall, dark and handsome. And that'll be the finish. What's the future of Clockwork Orange? Obviously, we're 30 years. Will it evolve? Have you got any thoughts on the next 5 years plus? You know,
Making other things, not like too big, but there's some ideas I've got in my head to try to do for Ibiza. But England, I haven't really done it this year. We've got Coco in September. Possibly something there's another thing we're thinking of launching next year, then the classical thing. But it's just about making it different. Not different, but just adding elements to it that makes it more exciting, just a plain old simple.
So it's not at its kind of peak.
No.
What would you class it? No?
No.
There's still more to come out of Clockwork Orange.
Yeah. There's some things in the plan for next year, being planned. If they come off, that would be really cool. Like for Ibiza. Like certain DJs for certain places. Unique, different locations that no one's ever done. And DJs that want to do it as a result of that.
Well, I was going to ask you, is there one DJ or performer?
I'd love to have Fatboy Slim.
Okay.
I'd love to have Fatboy Slim or Carl Cox, yeah. Or branching out into different elements. Do you know what I mean? Imagine having like New Order and Adam and the Ants and blah, blah, blah and blah, blah, blah. Do you know what I mean? In some like quirky, mad place. Do you know what I mean?
I like that idea.
Yeah, being creative. Like the same old shit is just fucking rubbish. Sorry to finish on an expletive.
No, it's
It's the only description I can come up with.
Yeah, but this was the whole point of this, is to get some honesty.
Like the 90s, right? Everyone was using this, using that. So we went
Yeah.
and done a party in a car park in South London. Ran out of beers by 10 o'clock at night. Andy was driving around London of all the open late night 24-hour off licences, filling the Mondeo up with crates of lager and bottles of brandy and everything else like that. We had 3,000 people. But it was an Archie's and we put a marquee on the outside and it was different. You got the paddocks, you had the cross, you had like whatever it was called in London. You had like Camden Palace, you had S Paradise, but it was them different little things that made it like just gives it that element of interest.
Well, I think that's a really good
Wicked.
time to stop. Danny,
Knuckles.
thank you
Yeah,
so
brother.
much for your time today. I hope those have been listening and watching back. We hope you've cut some of the parts out that have been recorded that shouldn't be on there. But thank you very much indeed. I really appreciate your time today.
Nice one, brother.
Thank you very much.
Geezer.
Thank you for listening to this episode. I hope you enjoyed what was said and what was discussed by Danny and myself. To find out more about Danny, Clockwork Orange and the events they've got hosted for this year and beyond, please visit clockworkorange.co. If not, you can find Danny Gould on all socials, Facebook, Instagram and anything else you're on. And don't forget to listen to him on a Saturday morning, 9 to 11, not as I got it wrong, 10 till 12, on the mighty Centreforce Radio.